Taylor Swift shut down Midtown Manhattan for her wedding. So yeah, I'm gonna read you a story I could have given more thought to. Hi, this is Half-Baked Tales, where I write and read one halfway thought-through short story every week. They're not always good, and that's the point. Last week, it was a tidbit of horror as our people-pleasing main character, Henry, was ensnared by a ghoulish creature in the night. Go back and listen to Pleasing the Panic if you missed it. This week's story is a bit special. It's based on the character I'm playing in Blue McElroy's Edinburgh Fringe show, We Are All Florida Man. Karin, bogged down by office life, spices up a workplace conference. Stick around after the story to hear more about the Florida Man show and how writing the story helps with my performance. Let's get into it. Here's Half-Baked Tale number 36, Squirrely Girl, Part 1. As far as Karin was concerned, a work conference was hell on earth. Nothing like a dull room full of dull people to destroy an already depleted soul. It was day 4 of back-to-back speeches, discussions, speeches, icebreakers, speeches, presentations, and more speeches. Talk about nothing. The worst part, her coworkers actually considered this a vacation. Karin has had to watch every single day as their faces glowed by the light of a continental breakfast. It was enough to make her sick. In a longer break between meetings, a pseudo-lunchtime when breakfast croissants were paired with deli meats and the carafes of coffee were reheated for likely the 10th time, the army of office drones gathered for light socialization. Karin didn't remember making a plate, but she was holding one piled with a strange assortment of fruits and bread. She had chosen to stand, not sit, near a window, devoid as she was of the energy to endure small talk with the same woman who had cornered her every lunch to show off pictures of her grandchildren. No, Karin much preferred to blend into the background. She had remarkable skill at disappearing in plain sight, and she utilized it often. Her eyes bounced from person to person, enjoying her standing as a voyeur seeking the day's entertainment. She knew who she was looking for, and there they were. 2 employees cozied up together at a table on the far side of the room. She had dubbed them Haircut and Giggles, while keeping track of their exploits over the week. So far, she'd figured out they're from separate offices, had just met this week, and they were hot for each other. Let the show begin. Haircut sawed off a bit of his stale sandwich, speared it on a plastic fork, and hovered it invitingly in front of Giggles, whose wedding ring caught a bit of light when they cupped their hand under the fork passing into their mouth. The 2 of them had certainly been getting bold with the PDA. Karin's eyes swiveled around the adjacent tables, searching for... There she was. Cross-Eyes, as Karin liked to call her. Wherever Giggles and Haircut were, Cross-Eyes was never far. She was sitting alone, body half-angled at the canoodling pair. Karin loved the scornful spark in Cross-Eyes' face. There must be so much passion tamped down inside her, just desperate to escape. Karin had tried following her after work on day 1 to see if she could catch any moments of confrontation or anything the woman might do to interrupt this obvious affair. Nothing, though. Karin could teach Cross-Eyes a thing or two. Someone to Karin's right let out a pointed cough. She ignored it, focusing on Cross-Eyes obliviously poking at her now empty plate. But the cough happened again, closer this time. She turned her head with mindful slowness, and she was confronted by a stocky man in a red tie. Stockboy, the name came to her immediately. Stockboy had his eyebrows raised at her. "I'd like to open the window," he said, words dripping with unsaid implication. Karin cocked her head, reminded herself of where she was. and the HR consequences she could face at one bad turn, and took one exaggerated step away. On the breeze of the newly opened window, Karin heard Stockboy mumble something about her being a bitch. Oh ho ho, what a turn of events. Karin felt a bit of her soul resurrect. She tracked Stockboy's path through the hall and specifically noted the placement of his coffee cup. There was a line of condiment pumps at the buffet, and Karin got a good 2 dollops of ketchup into one of those thimble-sized paper cups. The top of the red sauce curled very cutely. It brought a smile to Karin's face. Karin loved ketchup. She wondered if Stockboy did too. Fingers crossed. Watching for the right turn of Stockboy's head, Karin deftly plopped the ketchup directly into his coffee. She utilized her chameleon superpower immediately and let the light chaos ensue. Stockboy, furious, confused, and excited to blame someone for this strange occurrence, sputtered around with spilled coffee on his button-up and a drenched thimble of ketchup in his fist. Karin was elated. She hadn't expected so much reaction. So she did it again. This time, mayo in a cup of tea, then mustard in some soup, then brown sauce in the water jug. All of these dull, purposeless people floundered about, so befuddled as to how sauces kept ending up where they shouldn't be. No one even took a glance at Karin, well hidden as she was from the accusatory finger of Stockboy. She went almost completely unnoticed, except for one man who had his eyes trained on her. He was sitting alone, a few paces away from Karin, also on the edges of the room, and he was trying to catch her eye. Karin was unused to this, being a creature of great stealth. Not only was he looking at her, he knew what she had done, that she was the source of the chaos this poor little office conference had fallen into. She could tell by the little gape in his mouth. That little bit of identification wouldn't scare her off, though. Eye contact was one of Karin's specialties. She met this man's gaze with delight. She bored daringly into his eyes. "Say something," she thought to him. "Do it. Make everything even more interesting." Any hope of getting away with her actions was likely lost at that point. This man would take his accounts to the higher-ups, and she'd face disciplinary actions of some variety. There was no way she'd be let off, not with her record. Might as well get a bit of drama out of it now. Maybe he'd stand and point at her, and she'd unleash herself in earnest on this whole terrible room. Her dad certainly wouldn't be taking her calls after this. The man stood up. "Here it comes," she thought. He edged along the wall towards her hiding place. Any second now, he'll sound the alarm. He sidled up next to her and paused before he whispered, "That certainly livened things up." To be continued. That was Half-Baked Tale number 36, Squirrely Girl, Part 1. This story is based off a show I am currently rehearsing called We Are All Florida Man by Blue McElroy. Florida Man will be playing at the Edinburgh Fringe from 24th to 29th August, 2 p.m. at the Space on Niddry Street. It's a back-breakingly hysterical show born from the Florida Man phenomenon and meme. If you're unfamiliar with the concept of Florida Man, I have a nifty definition from the show's Instagram page. An internet meme referring to an alleged prevalence of people performing irrational, ridiculous, and maniacal actions in the U.S. state of Florida. There was a trend of Googling your birthday followed by Florida Man. So example, you do February 2nd, Florida Man. And without fail, no matter what date you enter, there will always be a story of some person in Florida who has committed an absolutely ridiculous crime. My own story for this trend, when I put my own birthday in, was a Florida man arrested with monkey clinging to his shirt. So Blue has taken this concept, this meme, and contextualized it into a support group for the people who have committed these very strange crimes. The Florida man themselves. My character, Karin, is an attendee of this Florida man support group. I won't share yet what her Florida man moment was. That's for part 2, or maybe part 3. So last week I was doing some character work and I thought, why not combine this artistic work with my weekly writing for Half-Baked Tales. It's really partially a fun crossover of my 2 artistic practices, and it's half giving myself a bit of a break while I'm in rehearsals. My creative mind is all full up at the end of the week, and I'm not sure I'd be able to put together any semblance of a story that's different from the world I'm living in 10 to 5 Monday to Friday. It's a little challenging putting up my writer brain first for this story. I've had to fight off my actor brain that just wants to understand the character inside and out instead of creating an interesting, cohesive narrative with a beginning and a middle and an end. I don't have a ton to say about the writing process because I don't want to give spoilers away. Part 2 will be next week's podcast. I've already got in it partially written, and potentially it'll be spilling over into part 3, to round out the 3 weeks of rehearsal. If you enjoy these weekly podcasts, please like, follow, comment, and share. Even a quick review on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube is huge in getting the podcast to new audiences. Or recommend it to a friend who loves audiobooks or random shite talked by a person who just loves being imaginative. Thank you for listening. See you next week.